Blind date on Christmas Eve. The poor single mom arrived late, but the vampire king waited anyway. The wind whispered through narrow alleys, carrying the scent of pine, smoke, and something older, something almost magical that most people could not feel. Maria pulled her coat tighter around her shoulders and checked the time on her phone. 11:52 p.m. She was late, too late. Her hands shook as she ran a hand through her hair. Her mind raced. What was she even doing here? A blind date on Christmas Eve in the middle of a strange, snow-covered city, with a stranger she had never met, but she had promised herself she would try. She was tired of living for everyone else. Her little son, her job, the endless bills that seemed to multiply overnight. Maybe tonight, for just a few hours, she could think of herself. The small cafe where the date was supposed to meet had long since closed. She walked faster, her boots crunching in the snow, until she reached a quiet square at the edge of the city. There, in the shadow of an ancient fountain, a figure stood. Tall, silent, waiting. He did not look at her until she was very close. Then slowly, his head turned. His eyes were the color of a stormy night, deep and endless, and they seemed to see everything. Maria felt her breath catch in her throat. "Maria," he said, his voice smooth, calm, almost musical, though it carried a strange weight, as if centuries of sorrow lay behind it. She nodded, words stuck in her throat. "Why, yes, I'm sorry I'm late." He smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it, not in the way a human smile carried warmth. It was a smile that promised both comfort and danger. "Time is meaningless," he said softly, "especially tonight." Maria glanced around nervously. I wasn't sure you'd be here." "I always wait," he said simply, and then he extended a hand. Not the cold, stiff hand she expected from a stranger, but a hand that felt strangely alive, yet too perfect, too controlled. She hesitated, then placed her hand in his. For a moment the snow fell in silence. A few stray flakes landed on her hair and eyelashes. She looked up at him and felt a shiver run down her spine, not from cold but from something in the air, something electric. What are you?" she asked, almost instinctively, though the words felt foolish the moment they left her lips. He tilted his head, considering her. "A question for later," he said. His voice carried amusement, though it was a dark, gentle amusement, like watching someone stand on the edge of a cliff without knowing it. Maria laughed nervously, pulling her coat tighter. "Right, okay. So why here?" "This fountain has been here longer than the city itself," he said, gesturing to the frozen water at their feet. "It holds memory magic, the kind you cannot see but you can feel. I thought it fitting for a first meeting." Maria studied him. He was impossibly tall, almost regal. His coat was black, heavy, lined with fur at the collar, though she could see no signs of cold touching him. Even in the winter air, he seemed untouched by frost. There was something about him that made her heart race, not with fear exactly, but with anticipation. "I don't even know your name," she said, trying to regain a small piece of normality. "I am Adrian," he said. "Adrian of the Night Court." Maria blinked. "Night Court. Titles are burdens," he said, "and crowns are chains, but names are bridges. You may call me Adrian." They walked together slowly through the square, the snow crunching under their feet. The city around them was silent, as if it were holding its breath, listening. Maria tried to shake the feeling of unease that tickled her spine. There was something unreal about Adrian, something timeless. "So, this was really a blind date?" she asked, forcing a small laugh. "By your account, yes," he said, his eyes never leaving hers. "But perhaps, in truth, it was always meant to be more." Maria's heart skipped. She felt the weight of the moment, the way his gaze lingered, not just on her face, but somewhere deeper, a place she rarely let anyone see. "More?" she asked softly. Adrian's smile deepened. "Do you feel it?" "Feel what?" "The pull, the inevitability," he said. His voice was a whisper now, but it carried through the cold air with a force she could not ignore. Some meetings are not by chance. They are written in shadows, in the lines of snow, in the rhythm of the wind. Maria stopped walking. She stared at him, trying to make sense of his words. Written in shadows. He nodded slowly, his gaze dropping to the frozen fountain, then back to her. Tonight you find me. That is no accident, but there is danger in knowing me, Maria. You must decide if you are willing to face it. Her pulse quickened. Something about him was dangerous. She could sense it deep in her bones, but she also felt drawn, pulled. A strange warmth spread through her chest. I think I can, she said quietly. She did not know why, but something in her heart whispered that she had come to the right place, that she was meant to be here. Adrian's eyes softened for the briefest moment, then darkened again. Then follow me, he said. He led her through twisting streets, past buildings that seemed ordinary but carried an air of something forgotten and eternal. Shadows danced in strange ways, moving with intent. Maria felt a shiver, but she trusted him. Somehow she knew that no harm would come while she was with him. Finally, they arrived at a gate. Heavy, wrought iron covered in frost that glimmered like diamonds. Adrian pressed a hand against it, and it opened silently, as if it had been waiting for him. Inside, the courtyard was bathed in moonlight. Snow fell gently, but it did not stick. The air smelled of pine and something older, something ancient and alive. In the center stood a statue, frozen in mid-motion, eyes that seemed almost human in their depth. This place, Maria whispered. It feels alive. It is, Adrian said. Every stone, every shadow, every corner remembers, and tonight it remembers you. Maria looked at him, unsure what he meant, but before she could ask, a sudden movement in the shadows made her start. Adrian's hand shot out, resting lightly on her shoulder. Do not be afraid, he said. They watch, but they do not interfere, not yet. Her heart raced. Who watches? Ancient eyes, he said. The world is not empty, Maria. It is full of things that do not belong to your kind, and I am bound to protect you from them if you will let me. Maria swallowed hard. Protect me? From what? He looked at her with those stormy eyes, and she felt her breath catch. From shadows. From choices you cannot yet see. From yourself sometimes. Maria laughed softly, shaking her head. I don't understand any of this. You sound like a storybook. Adrian smiled, a rare warmth touching his features. Perhaps you are right. But some storybooks are written in blood and snow. The wind howled suddenly, and snow swirled around them. Maria shivered, and Adrian's hand brushed hers. Not touching, not yet, but close enough that heat seemed to leap between them. Why am I here? She asked, barely a whisper. Because the world has waited for you, he said. And because I have waited for you. Tonight, something begins, Maria. Something that may change both our fates forever. She felt her pulse quicken, fear and excitement mingling in her chest. And if I'm not ready, he stepped closer, the faintest touch of his breath brushing her hair. Then you will be, he said softly, or you will be lost. The choice is yours. Maria looked into his eyes, and for the first time in a long while she felt hope and fear and longing all at once. As she took a step forward, a distant cry echoed through the city, sharp and urgent. Adrian stiffened. They know you are here, he whispered. And they will not wait. Maria's heart leapt into her throat. Who? What are they? Adrian's eyes darkened, filled with shadow and centuries of sorrow. Enough to make you run if you wish, but some paths cannot be abandoned once chosen. He held out his hand, steady and certain. Maria hesitated only a moment, then placed hers in his. The snow swirled around them, the city fell silent, and somewhere, deep in the shadows, eyes watched. Tonight the story had begun. And nothing would ever be the same. The snow had stopped falling, leaving the city blanketed in silence. The streets seemed emptier than before, though Maria could feel the presence of something unseen. Every shadow seemed alive, moving in ways that defied reason. She stayed close to Adrian as they walked through the winding alleys, her hand still lingering in his. Where are we going? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. To a place where you will be safe, Adrian said. His eyes scanned the dark streets, alert, wary. For tonight, at least, but safety is a word without meaning in a world like this. Maria shivered, not entirely from cold. There was something in Adrian's presence, an energy both comforting and terrifying. She had never met anyone like him. Tall, elegant, almost unreal in appearance, he moved with grace, like a shadow gliding across stone. His eyes, deep and stormy, seemed to read her very soul, leaving her feeling exposed yet strangely understood. "Safe from what?" she asked. "From those who do not wish you to walk freely," he said. He did not elaborate, but his tone made her heart race. The air felt heavier here, as if the night itself was aware of her presence. They reached an alley that led to an old building, half hidden behind climbing ivy and frost. Adrian pressed a hand against the door and it swung open silently. Inside, the air was warmer, filled with the scent of pine, candle wax, and something faintly metallic. It smelled ancient. Maria stepped in cautiously. "What is this place?" "My home," Adrian said simply. "Or at least a part of it. You need to rest." It was a large room, furnished with dark wood and heavy curtains. Candles flickered, casting dancing shadows on the walls. The snow outside glimmered through tall windows, painting the room in silver light. Maria's eyes wandered. "It's beautiful, but so strange." Adrian's gaze followed hers. "All that is beautiful carries an edge of danger. You will learn that soon enough." Maria sank into a chair by the window, still holding her coat tight. She felt small and mortal in a world that seemed so vast and eternal. Adrian knelt beside her, placing a hand gently on hers. The touch was light, but it carried warmth, reassurance, and something else she could not name. "You are safe here," he said softly, "for now." She looked up at him, searching his eyes. "Adrian, why me? Why tonight?" He paused, as if choosing his words with care. "Because the night chose you. Because you carry a light that the shadows cannot ignore. And because I have waited for someone like you for longer than I can remember." Maria's chest tightened. The words were beautiful but heavy, filled with a sorrow she could almost feel pressing down on her. "Longer than you can remember?" she asked. Adrian nodded. "Time is not measured the way you know it. For me, centuries pass like days. And in all that time I have seen many lives, many hearts, but none like yours." Maria wanted to ask more, but before she could, a sudden noise outside startled her. The sound of footsteps, too light, too precise to be human, echoed through the courtyard. She jumped back. Adrian rose instantly, his posture shifting from calm to alert. "They are here," he said, his voice low. "The Watchers, they do not like strangers." Maria's heart pounded. "Watchers? Who are they?" "Guardians of the old order," he said. "Ancient beings who do not welcome change, who do not tolerate what they cannot control. And right now, they are very interested in you." Fear and excitement tangled in her chest. She wanted to run, to hide, but something in her told her to stay. She looked at Adrian, whose eyes were sharp, calculating, and dangerous, yet somehow protective. What can we do?" she asked. He held out his hand. "Trust me, that is all you need to do for now." The footsteps grew closer, shadows moving just beyond the window. Maria felt a chill run through her. She clutched his hand, feeling the strength in his touch. Adrian whispered words she could not understand, and the shadows paused, hesitating at the threshold of the room. "They cannot enter while the bond is here," he said. "But it will not last forever." Maria's mind raced. "Bond? What bond?" He gave her a long look, filled with something between sorrow and longing. "The bond between protectors and the protected. It is subtle, almost invisible, but it binds us for as long as we are together." Maria tried to understand, but the words felt like a mystery she could not solve. Still, she felt the truth in them. She was not alone, not tonight. For the next hour they stayed in the room, speaking in hushed tones. Adrian told her fragments of his story, how he had once ruled a kingdom of shadows and night, betrayed by those he trusted most, and cursed to wander the world in solitude. His voice was soft, almost mournful, but beneath it there was power, control, and pride. Maria listened, fascinated and frightened. She realized that she had stepped into a world she could never have imagined, where danger and beauty coexisted, where loyalty and betrayal were measured not in days, but in centuries. "You are lonely," she said finally, her voice breaking the silence. Adrian's eyes softened. Lonely is not the word, burdened perhaps, watchful and haunted, but yes, lonely in a way you could understand. Maria nodded. "I understand. I'm lonely too sometimes. I work all day, care for my son, and barely have time for myself. I forget what it feels like to be seen." He reached out, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. "Then tonight, be seen. Let yourself feel, even if only for a little while." The moment lingered between them, filled with tension, longing, and unspoken words. Maria felt her heart race. She wanted to step closer, to trust him completely, but fear held her back. Fear of the unknown, fear of the shadows, fear of what it meant to be here in his world. Adrian noticed, and he smiled faintly. "Fear is natural, but you do not need to face it alone." Before Maria could respond, a loud crash echoed from the courtyard. The candles flickered violently. Shadows danced along the walls, moving of their own accord. Maria clutched Adrian's arm. "They are testing us," he said. "They want to see if you are ready, if you can handle this." Maria's mind raced. "Handle what?" "Everything," he said. His eyes darkened. "The world you know is only part of reality. There are forces, older than any human life, older than kingdoms, older than time itself. Some wish to protect you, some wish to harm you. And I am caught in between." The room grew colder, though the candles burned brighter. Shadows stretched across the walls, forming shapes that seemed almost alive. Maria's breath caught in her throat. Adrian stepped in front of her, his presence commanding and protective. "Do not be afraid," he said. "I will not let them touch you, not while I am here." Maria looked up at him, her heart swelling with something she had never felt before. Safety, yes, but also desire, admiration, and something deeper. She wanted to understand him, to reach him, to be part of his world, even if it meant danger. A shadow shifted at the edge of the room, and a whisper echoed through the air. Maria could not make out the words, but it sounded like a warning. She tightened her grip on Adrian's hand. "They will come again," he said softly. "And when they do, you must be ready. You must trust me and yourself." Maria swallowed, her throat dry. I think I can," she said. Adrian's eyes softened for the briefest moment, a flicker of hope and something almost like longing. "Good," he said, "because tonight nothing will be the same. You have crossed a threshold, Maria, and once crossed, there is no turning back." She felt the weight of his words, a mixture of fear and excitement. The world outside was quiet again, but Maria knew it was only a temporary peace. Shadows waited, danger waited. And she had chosen to walk into it, hand in hand with the most dangerous man she had ever met. And yet, in that moment, she felt alive in a way she had not felt in years. The snow glimmered outside, moonlight reflecting on the icy streets. Maria and Adrian stood together, facing the unknown, hearts racing, shadows moving just beyond their vision. For the first time, Maria understood that life was more than survival. It was about choices, courage, and the unexpected beauty that could be found even in darkness. And in the silence that followed, she heard the whisper again, a voice carried on the wind, promising both peril and destiny. Tonight, she thought, would change everything. The storm had returned. Snow whipped against the windows, and the wind howled like a chorus of restless spirits. Maria watched from the tall window of Adrian's ancestral castle, feeling the cold seep into her bones. Yet despite the chill, she felt warmth in her chest, the warmth of courage, curiosity, and something she could not name, something growing between her and Adrian. "Maria," Adrian's voice called softly from behind. He stood by the fireplace, the shadows flickering across his face. Even in the dim candlelight, he looked otherworldly, regal, dangerous, and impossibly alive. She turned to him. "The storm, it's getting worse." "It mirrors what is coming," he said. His eyes darkened, shadowed with centuries of sorrow and battle. They have grown impatient. The watchers will no longer linger at the edges. Tonight we must face them. Maria's heart raced. He stepped closer. You are part of this now, whether you like it or not. And I cannot protect you from everything, not unless you stand with me. She swallowed, fear and determination twisting inside her. I will stand with you, whatever it takes. Adrian's eyes softened for the first time in hours. Then we begin. He led her through winding corridors, their footsteps echoing on cold stone floors. The castle was alive with history. Portraits of long-dead ancestors stared down from the walls, their eyes seeming to follow every movement. Candles flickered along the hallways, casting elongated shadows that danced like living creatures. Finally, they reached a large chamber, circular and high-ceilinged. Snow fell faintly through a shattered window at the top, melting into the stone floor. Shadows twisted in the corners, forming shapes too precise to be ordinary darkness. The Watchers had arrived. They will test us, Adrian whispered. We cannot run, we must face them together. Maria's hand trembled as she held his. And if we fail, he shook his head, brushing a strand of snow-laden hair from her face, then all that we hope for will be lost. But if we succeed, we may find more than survival. We may find something eternal. The shadows shifted suddenly, coalescing into forms that seemed almost human but too perfect, too cold. They moved with purpose, circling the pair, studying, waiting. Maria's pulse raced, but she felt a calmness too. Adrian's presence steadied her, his strength flowing through her as if their bond had already begun to shape the outcome. You must trust yourself, Adrian said softly. You have courage, more than you realize. And you have heart, Maria nodded, trying to focus. She could feel the energy in the room, the tension, the power, the threat, but also something else. Something alive, vibrant, and not entirely dark. The Watchers struck suddenly. Shadows lunged toward them, moving faster than she could track. Adrian moved first, intercepting them with a fluid grace that seemed almost unreal. His movements were precise, elegant, deadly, but he did not strike to destroy. He moved to protect, to shield. Maria's instinct took over. She stepped forward, feeling a strange warmth pulse through her body. She reached out with her hand and the shadows froze, hesitating at her touch. Confusion crossed their forms, and for the first time she realized something incredible: she could influence them. Adrian noticed, his eyes widening with surprise and admiration. You have power too, he said. Stronger than you know. Do not fear it, embrace it. Fear and exhilaration surged through Maria. She drew a deep breath, focusing, and the shadows recoiled. She felt a strange connection with the ancient forces in the room, as if she were part of the world she had only glimpsed before. The Watchers faltered. For the first time they seemed uncertain, unsure of how to proceed. Adrian pressed a hand to her shoulder. Now, Maria, stand with me. Together they advanced, side by side. Adrian's presence was commanding, his strength undeniable, but Maria's courage shone brightly. The shadows twisted and writhed, but they could not overcome the bond between the mortal woman and the vampire king. And then a voice echoed through the chamber, clear and commanding. Enough! A figure stepped forward, separate from the shadows. Tall, cloaked in black, with eyes that burned like fire. The Watchers froze, bowing slightly as the figure's gaze swept over the room. Adrian's expression hardened. The Arbiter, he whispered. Maria felt a shiver. Who is that? The one who enforces the old laws, Adrian said. The one who judges whether those who break the balance will be forgiven or destroyed. And tonight, they judge us. The Arbiter's gaze landed on Maria. For a moment, time seemed to stop. The air was thick with expectation, and Maria felt the weight of centuries pressing down upon her. And then the Arbiter spoke. You are mortal, the voice said, cold and precise. Yet you possess courage, heart, and strength. You stand with one of the cursed, the exiled, the broken, and you do so willingly. Yes, Maria said, her voice clear despite her fear. I stand with him, and I will not falter. The arbiter studied her, silence stretching long and tense. Then slowly a faint nod. Very well. You may proceed, but know this, the choice you make now will shape eternity. Adrian exhaled softly, a mixture of relief and awe in his stormy eyes. You have passed the first test, he said, and now we must face the final one. The shadows surged again, more aggressive this time, as if the arbiter's presence had only provoked them. Maria felt fear rise, but also determination. She held Adrian's hand tighter, feeling the warmth and strength between them. This is it, Adrian said. Together. They moved forward, weaving through the shadows, Maria's courage and unexpected power complementing Adrian's centuries-honed skill. For every strike, every defensive move, they were a perfect balance of light and dark, mortal and immortal, heart and strength. And then, as the final shadow lunged, Maria reached out fully, pouring all her focus and determination into it. A bright glow emanated from her hand, washing over the room. The shadow screamed and dissipated into nothingness, leaving silence in its wake. The arbiter nodded again, satisfied. You have proven your strength, your bond is true, and your heart's resilient. Maria collapsed to the floor, exhausted but exhilarated. Adrian knelt beside her, brushing snow from her hair. You did it, he said softly. I knew you could. She looked up at him, breathless. We did it, she corrected. Together. He smiled, a rare warmth lighting his features. Yes, together. For a long moment they simply sat, hands intertwined, hearts beating in unison. The storm outside had slowed, the wind softening, snow falling gently like stars. The castle felt alive, serene, almost tender. You are different from anyone I have ever known, Adrian said quietly. And I am changed because of you. Maria's chest tightened. You've changed me too, she whispered. I feel stronger, braver, alive in a way I never thought I could be. Adrian leaned closer, his stormy eyes filled with unspoken emotion. Then perhaps we are meant to walk this path together. Not just tonight, but for however long eternity allows. Her heart fluttered. Even if it's dangerous, he nodded. Even if it is dangerous, especially then. A silence settled, comfortable and profound, until Maria broke it softly. What now? Adrian's gaze drifted to the snow outside, then back to her. Now we heal, we learn, we grow. The world is vast, full of shadows and light, and we will face it side by side. Maria smiled, hope and excitement mingling in her chest. Then I am ready. And for the first time she truly believed it. The storm had passed. The city lay quiet, sparkling under the pale moonlight. The shadows had receded, but Maria knew they would always be there, testing, watching, waiting. Yet she no longer felt fear. She had Adrian by her side, and she had discovered a strength within herself that she had never known existed. Adrian extended his hand, his gaze steady and full of emotion. Shall we see what tomorrow brings? Maria took it without hesitation. Yes, together. As they stepped toward the doorway, a distant figure watched from the edge of the forest beyond the castle. Eyes glimmered in the darkness, and a whisper carried on the wind. The story has begun, but the world is not done with them yet. Maria squeezed Adrian's hand, feeling the warmth and certainty of their bond. She did not know what lay ahead, but she knew this. She would face it with him, with courage, heart, and love. Tonight had changed everything. Tomorrow promised even more. And together, they would step into the unknown.